Hello everyone, my name is Chuck of Series Capade's Place. This is another Reservoir Raid R&R recap and review. We start off this episode looking at my talent screen. I have a level 57 Chief, which means that I have 215 points in total. Much like in the previous raid, I was thinking of going the healing recovery route, which means that I would have to place as much points that I could into battle dressing. This is in the Eco Talents Tech 3. I know this is a huge gamble on my end because this means that I miss out on a lot of military stats. So I went for a hybrid approach where I maxed out all of the battle dressing talents and placed all of the remaining points into war. Here's what my current Chief screen looks like. I currently have a level 57 Chief, which means I have 215 talent points. My Chief gear are currently maxed, but my badges are not. We have just unlocked Generation 5 heroes in our state, which means that my Generation 5 heroes are not yet generals. And that means my A-team involves some of my Generation 4 heroes. I need to check my unbuffed stats, so I target a random infected and look for the report. Based on the report, it seems that my infantry is at 689, my hunter is at 700, and my riders at 655. So that's more or less the stats that I have to look at, and my health and vitality aren't looking that bad either. Now we're moving over to the settlement buff screen. I apply all of the combat buffs that I could use because I need every bit of edge that I could get, especially since I have intentionally crippled myself by going mostly eco with a little bit of war peppered in between. We do a little bit of time skip here because we are now ready to enter the Reservoir Raid arena. At the very start of the raid, I instruct everyone to make sure to send me their battle reports. I needed battle reports from the enemy P5s. I just have to make sure that there's none of them that have higher stats than me, or at least they should not be near my own stats. In this case, they have to be at 600 or lower. That way I still have a sizable advantage over them. The enemy players are starting to trickle in, and it looks like they have more Plasma 5 players compared to us. Right now we only have one Plasma 5, that's me, and on their side there's about 3, at least 3. Now we're getting ready for the countdown. I get into position waiting for the building to get ready, but I find out too late that I'm in the wrong building. I was supposed to start at the treatment center, and here's where I figured it out. I flew over to the water treatment center where I was supposed to be in the first place. It was already occupied by the enemy. There are 2 Plasma 5s and 1 Plasma 2. I couldn't take it on my own, so I decided to start a rally. In this Reservoir Raid, I made sure I launched 3-minute rallies at least, because we learned that in our previous raid 2 minutes is not enough time, especially since everyone runs out of accelerators quickly. The reports are finally coming in, and I had to look at them very quickly since everything's happening so fast at the beginning. Things are frantic, and I had to ask which ones are the P5 reports, and I got them. So far, the P5 reports I'm getting have maximum attack and defense of around 400 to 500%, which is way below my current stats. And as I mentioned earlier, I only need to be concerned if they have over 600%, because that means they would be able to beat any of my non-primary heroes. And right now, my rally is about to hit the treatment center, which we took over. The reports say they have under 600%, which is really good for me. So as of right now, we see a maximum of 570% attack stats, and I have 2 set of heroes that are better than that. So that gives me a bit of leeway. So the next step from here is to send more rallies into the high points buildings, the high value buildings. And hopefully the set of heroes that I send are slightly stronger or at par with their heroes. That way I am able to take it over from them. While I set my rallies to 3 minutes, I make sure that I only rally one at a time to give my teammates enough time to join my rallies, especially those who are currently in a safe zone. I'm watching the rally headed for processing plant 4, which we lost. and I needed to know the stats of Black Mamba at P5. Again, it was very frantic at the start, so I haven't associated names with strengths yet. I wait for a report which should be coming around now, and here it is. I scanned and the biggest number is 574%, which means that my B team should be more than enough for it. Which by a very cool coincidence, they are already headed for that building. I didn't know I set a rally for that already. Things are so frantic. Some of my teammates started burning lower level HQ players, which is good because we are matched against an older state, and older states tend to have a very large number of troops, and we need to starve them of troops. But despite the handicap in army size, we still have almost twice the amount of players. It seems like not all of them have come online, and we have to use this to our advantage. So I started asking those who can to hit their low level HQs. This would facilitate reducing the number of joiners in all of their rallies. But despite that, I urge my teammates that joining is still top priority. Meanwhile, we arrive at the treatment center and manage to boot them out. But a few seconds later, we are being targeted by another rally. I think that's in the treatment center. And I confirm by looking at the rally screen. So I inform my teammates about needing reinforcements in the treatment center and possibly a few other buildings. It seems that at this point of the game, my hospital isn't being crazy yet, so I continue healing a little batch every few minutes. And here we see successfully taking another plant, so I ask them to reinforce this one as well. And meanwhile, I keep trying to heal, and about now the central reservoir has unlocked, so I try sending one of my marches in there, taking over the building quickly. Now that we're holding majority of the buildings, I turn my attention to the dev compound, which is currently being contested. So I set a rally towards it because we need to secure it if we want to maintain our control over all of the buildings that we're currently holding. Now, of course, we need that because every bit of buffs and debuffs that are stacked against us would definitely hurt. So we need every bit of advantage that we could take. It seems like there's so much happening right now that we are spread thin and our rallies are not filling up despite having a rally time of 3 minutes. So I have to keep that in mind given the current number of players. It seems that we are at our maximum and I would have to juggle some buildings accordingly. So I leave some of my buildings and pass it on to some of my team members while I reorganize my marches. We are more than 20 minutes into the game and I think we had some latecomers arrive, so I had to reiterate, I had to remind everybody of the troop allocation, and that is only T10 or higher plasma troops could join my rallies, but everyone else, including lower tiers, are free to do reinforcements and gathering water. And as you can see, all of my marches are occupied, all of my marches are out. This means I am spread out thinly and my hospital is starting to fill up faster than before. I think Papa Koff, their strongest player, has sensed this and I think he's organizing a rally against my settlement. So I hurriedly try to recall some of my troops, especially those that I can afford to send back. One of my marches is headed towards a dev compound and it seems like more of them are coming and getting ready to hit my settlement. So I try healing more infantry just to fill up my base because I don't think I'll be able to hold, especially if they send a full rally against me. Papa Koff's rally should be marching any second now, and there it is. And luckily for me, I was able to hold it off. I managed to send back enough troops in time. We captured the dev compound, but I'm starting to get increasingly worried about my settlement since more of them are setting rallies against me. I reviewed that last rally against me again, and it seems that they lost mainly because their rally wasn't full. Had that been full, I would have much harder time. The outcome would have been a lot different. So I think I need to send back my second tier, or my Team B heroes. So it's either that or have a lot of reinforcements. My teammates have noticed it too and started pointing it out in the chat. But in my mind, as long as I have fewer casualties than the enemies, then it is still worth defending, worth keeping them here. That way their rallies, their hospitals would be filling up faster and they would not be able to hold other buildings. There's around 3 or 4 of them trying to rally me, but I am only really concerned about Papakov's stats because he's the only strong one of the bunch. And it looks like we have managed to secure the dev compound. I put it to immediate use, setting the water processing plant near their safe zone, near the enemy safe zone as the target. Meanwhile, in my settlement, there are still lots of rallies going on, and the situation in the hospital is a lot more frantic compared to earlier. I am trying to heal as much as I can in between their attacks because I need to hold off as much rallies as I could possibly do. Again, the goal here is to keep them occupied, make their stronger players lose a lot of troops, effectively crippling them. But I have to be mindful of my own troops as well because they are all targeting me and a lot of my troops are getting sent to the hospitals, and I shouldn't be using up my regular speed ups because SVS is coming up. As you see here, I sent a solo attack on Papakov. I made a slight miscalculation. I thought by now he had few troops, but apparently not. He still has over 1 million troops, around 1.7 million. I'm not sure if all of those are his or maybe reinforcements. I guess I have to stick to being on defense and maybe even consider moving my forward base somewhere else. But that means potentially losing control of all of the buildings that we're holding at the moment. So I try to hold out as much as possible here. I see an opportunity with Johnny 5 holding the water treatment center. Johnny 5 does not have the same stats as Papakov, so I thought that this is an opportunity for me to send a lot of their troops into their hospitals. As you can see, there's a lot of our players in the safe zone. We are keeping them there, that way they do not get zeroed out by the enemies, especially since these guys do not have more than 1 million troops. They are easy pickings. The rally that I set was around 3 minutes, but some of them are thinking it was too short, especially at this point of the game where they are also stretched thin. And given our huge lead over the enemy in terms of points, in retrospect, I think I should have gone with 5-minute rallies. We have more than enough time, and buying more time might be a good idea in terms of healing and recovery. And I say that while my settlement keeps getting pounded over and over. And luckily our rally towards the treatment center is successful and we managed to take it back. This successful attack should send them back into healing mode and hopefully buy us a bit of time to do our own healing. Not wanting the dev compound to be idle, I sent another infected wave onto the last building that was under their control. Again, my goal here is to make them keep worrying about their own hospitals rather than focusing on mine. I am now down to less than half of my T11 infantry, and I hope they didn't notice that, because I can see that they are finally sending rallies to other buildings instead of my own settlement. I am worried that they haven't teleported out away from my current position, which means that they could strike me at any time, but as long as they feel that I am recovering fast enough for their rallies, then it should be fine. I try sending any heroes and troops that I could spare to buildings not under my control, which are being rallied by the enemy. Because again, I want to make sure that our defense holds and a lot of their troops become casualties. And Papakov found an opening in the central reservoir. He's using his B team against a defense composed of my weaker heroes, so that's definitely going to fail. I let my team know that I am healing for a bit and planning to retake the central reservoir. I set a rally for 5 minutes this time. Would give enough delay for some of us to heal and for the rest to join, especially those who are far away from my current position. There's a lot of things going on right now, so I try to keep my head around their positions, their movements, and I do that by spending a lot of time in the rally screen. And it seems like they are now focusing their attacks away from my settlement and more into the various buildings. They know I'm no longer at full strength and they're taking advantage of that. Now that my A team has arrived, I try to set a rally against the central reservoir. They just took the treatment center away from us, but they have a lot of casualties there, so I ignore it for a while and focus on the central reservoir. I announced the rally on the raid chat and let everyone know that I set it to 5 minutes to give everyone enough time. Hopefully we have a lot of joiners there because we are getting low on troops. Since it has the enemy's A-team heroes, I am only allowing T10 or higher. As you saw in these reports just now, I had consecutive defense fails and we lost a lot of troops in both attacks. So we definitely need to conserve our strength and hit the proper buildings with the proper heroes. Looking at the map, the buildings are now starting to turn red. They are doing their counterattack. On the upside, they are no longer placing their focus on my settlement, which is, I could say, definitely battered. I am very low on troops now. This is definitely giving them a lot of confidence trying to take the buildings, which I guess is fine at the moment because we have a huge gap between our scores. We could definitely use the little break trying to recover most of our troops, and as long as we have the dev compound, I think we can still turn the tides to our favor. The dev compound is now finally charged and I send an infected wave to the water treatment center because I have a rally currently preparing and I think it would arrive about half a minute after the infected wave hits the treatment center. So it just hit now and there's about, I'm not sure which rally this is, but there's only a few seconds left on that rally, so it should be marching by now. And here it is, and we retake the building. Again, this is the tactic that I use when we are overpowered by the enemy. I have to make sure to send the infected wave first to apply a debuff. I think it's a 20% debuff, and that 20% works a lot towards making it easier for us to overcome enemy stats. Now that it's their turn being spread out, I find an opening and send solo attacks against some of their members. And instant karma for me, the game crashed, so I had to reload. I hope I didn't get attacked during this loading screen, which is definitely taking too long, and now we're back. Remember, this replay is sped up by I think 300%, 3 times the speed. So a lot of things have already happened during my little downtime there. Fortunately for us, our rallies, the rallies that we sent, the one towards the central reservoir is successful, so I'm hoping that my teammates have sent their reinforcements now. I again do a quick scan to see which buildings I could work on next and try to get my bearings again, seeing where everyone is. I try getting some sneak attacks everywhere, but unfortunately not all of them have troops at home. I'm not sure where everyone is at the moment, so I look around the various buildings and see who is taking control over each building. I flag the munitions factory as a high priority at this time because we need every bit of attack buff that we could get. For those not in the know, the munitions factory gives you 10% attack. I think it was just attack, but anyway, 10% is still 10% and every bit helps. With my focus scattered everywhere, Papakov saw an opportunity and took the dev compound away from us, which is a bummer because we could definitely use the debuff from the infected wave. I'm not sure if everyone still has enough marches by now. Some of them are reporting that all of their marches are out gathering water, as they should be. And D40 is reporting that he now has 0 troops. And I think the Reservoir Raid is the best place to do that. I'm zeroing out your own troops, I mean. As I am explaining in chat, I like getting zeroed in Reservoir Raid. It only means that they are seeing me as a big threat and they need to focus everything on me. By placing their focus on me, it reduces the focus placed on other players, giving the other players time to do whatever they need to do. So really, as far as I'm concerned, there's no shame in getting zeroed out during Reservoir Raid, because from another angle, it might be for the better good. Now I try to let D40 know that he's welcome to stay in some of the high value buildings, you know, just for occupation time if you need the points. But otherwise, if he has a lot of troops in the hospitals, given the amount of time left, it's not worth healing them up now. So 5 minutes left. it's time to let loose. 5 minutes is where I usually wrap up and try to assess the situation, see if there's a huge enough gap that I could be more lax in my play style, and all indicators point to yes. I think I can afford to be more wasteful with my time here. Just waste some of their time, waste some of my time. Just waste time, full stop. And that's what we're doing for the next few minutes. Now there's only 4 minutes left. I let everyone know that it's time for them to let loose, just go have some fun, and at 2 minutes I will just focus on settlement attacks. So some of them have started setting their own rallies, random rallies against players. I guess they are no longer waiting for any of my rallies. They are organizing their own attacks and going for the points, for the troop kill points. So now I just look at the various buildings, seeing who is where, and just wait for the time to keep ticking down. I remind everyone to no longer bother using speed ups, because there's not much that you could do in 2 minutes anyway. And I start my attacks here now. The next few minutes are just me zeroing out other players and getting zeroed out myself, so I'm going to skip over those and bring you directly to the ending screen. Fast forward.